meeting to order. Ask that you rise, please, for the invocation. Be held by Ms. Jones. Remain standing and be pledged to the flag.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together today to do the county's business and the citizens' business. We pray that you'll be with us and lead us and guide us, give us wisdom, and help us to make proper decisions to represent the people well. We thank you for the great county and the great country that we live in, and that today is an opportunity for us to elect people to represent us in all areas, and we pray that the people will turn out and that your will will be done. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. First item is a resolution to consider to approve the agenda. As far as I know, there is one item. There is a appearance scheduled for 5:30 that the lady that was going to appear is asked to be removed and then to be placed on there at a later date if she so chooses. If she so chooses. So I'm asking that it just be removed altogether from the agenda. Other than that, I don't know anything. All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve with the removal of Andrew Richardson at 5:30 p.m. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes of the October 21st, 2014 commission meeting. No corrections. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second to approve as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just show me as no vote for the announcement.
So shown. All right. Should be noted that public comment should be limited to our agenda items only, and that documents from this meeting, as are all meetings, are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. Next item is our consent agenda. First item, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Lynn Jeffers Jr. to rezone 1.95 acres located at 489 Noel C. Conaway Road from B2 to AR2 in the 1st District. Second item, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Angelica E. Pittman to rezone 1 acre located at 5691 Old Dixie Highway South from AR1 to AR2 in the 3rd District. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. First item of new business, consideration to approve a memorandum of understanding between Effingham County Hospital Authority and Effingham County.
Good evening. As the board is aware, we have been working through a process with the hospital authority to initiate a memorandum of understanding. That memorandum of understanding is to put into place a mechanism or a process by which the current levy, which facilitates the funding of the hospital authority contract agreement with us, that particular millage and levy currently is dispersed to the hospital directly from the tax commissioner's office. And as such, some of the reconciliation processes that have to take place and that are quite cumbersome. Currently, there are several issues. The majority of that revenue is received in October, November, and December. Yet the contract calls for $300,000 per month in disbursements. Second, the disbursement and receipts cross fiscal and calendar years. And then there is discussion as to how the prior year's tax receipts are then to be accounted for. The agreement that you have in place right now and in front of you basically outlines not only a mechanism to handle that, but also a process to transition from the hospital levying its own tax to the county levying the tax. As such, we basically are recommending that separate accounts be set up so that we can segregate these funds. We are recommending a transition process between the hospital and the county. With the fact that there is some cash flow issues, the wording, timing, and mechanisms had to be worked out. And so I'll open it for any questions or issues that you may have, but we tried to, within this document, basically facilitate the three major issues that we currently have with that process.
In short, Joanna, to date, both sides, the hospital and the county's staff has all had input in this and has had a chance to review this and feels comfortable with it.
That is correct.
And I did say, and attorneys as well, attorneys on both sides. And I do know with the recommendation of some attorneys, I'm not sure with both sides or exactly how it is, but that we get an affirmation from HUD that they don't have a problem with it. And I'm recognizing that. But other than that, everything seems to be agreed upon by all parties.
That's correct. The only thing that I do want to make sure the board is aware is that there is a transition time in this. And there may be some time during these months where we do have to disperse some funds in order to meet these obligations until the timing of the receipts of the property tax is substantial enough to make sure that those payments are in order. I just want to make sure that y'all are aware of that. I believe that we can handle that. I believe that the transition documents allow us then to pay ourselves back for those potential claims that we may have to
That's what I was going to ask
initiate.
you. Does this document cover, so, because what we're trying to do is close up any ambiguity, any areas where things are ambiguous, where a contract didn't say clearly exactly how something was going to be handled. So while the one thing I'm comfortable with, where this does say that this is not an amendment, it's not a modification, it's basically just something that clarifies some things that the contract didn't address.
That's correct.
Okay, so you are saying if we do have to disperse funds, it is addressed in there, and how that would be handled, it will be handled according to this new MOU, so that things are followed by that one.
Yes, ma'am. In particular, if you look at section 4, section A, it specifically says that we will set up a separate bank account to disperse those funds at $300,000. It specifically references that the county shall disperse into that segregated bank account whatever that deficit may be. We do put in here that, of course, we will need to fulfill the current year contract up to the 3.6 at the 2 point, at last time we checked was about 2.9 million. We still have the receipts, however, coming in from the tax commissioner's office during the months of October, November, and December. We believe that will fulfill that. Then going into 2015, we will be required to give the hospital notice that we intend to levy. It's those months that I'm concerned about, as far as January, February, March, April, May, until we start to levy that. The clause in here does say that we shall disperse when a quarter is short. So we would have 3 months of those receipts coming in from the old hospital levy to go against that.
You were saying you're just concerned that we have money in the account to pay them from, how you address that?
That's correct. However, then, once we begin to levy ourselves, we will have our own account, and those funds will come in, which means that we will have to fulfill the 3.6, but then we would be able to transition those funds back to ourselves for anything that we had to cash flow.
I understand, most of that is addressed in here, in a way that we can understand it. But one thing I do want to ask the attorneys, or at least our attorney on our side, Eric, is why do we feel the need that we have to have HUD? I understand maybe just for an extra safeguard, because, you know, when this agreement's saying this is not an amendment, this is not a modification, this doesn't let us out of anything to do with that contract, then what is the need for the next thing?
I know it has that sort of disclaimer in it, and, you know, when I look at the totality of the agreement of this document, it's very specific about the method of payment and the timing of payment, and I don't want to see the county in a position where HUD, you know, if HUD were to ever come back because of default on the loan, for any reason, I don't want HUD to come back and look to the county and say, well, you changed the method of payment. I don't think it prejudices the hospital. Mr. Ross doesn't think it prejudices the hospital, but we're just two attorneys here today, and I would feel much more comfortable with HUD's blessing on this. Mr. Ross and I spoke earlier this week, and the hospital authority has contacted HUD, and they have asked for their blessing on this agreement.
And I need about to maybe do some clarifying and speak to us, and I believe it's the understanding that you guys have contacted HUD, and it's your anticipation that they're going to send us something saying they don't have a problem with it. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, and for the record, my name's Rusty Ross. I'm the attorney for the hospital authority, and we have contacted Nick Barquette, who is our contact at HUD, and I believe he's provided to your staff an email that says that preliminarily they didn't see any problem with it at all, but they have to go through their ropes, and they'll have us something in writing by Friday.
Okay.
And I might also add that even in the original agreement, we only have to get HUD, if it is an amendment, and we're all being cautious lawyers, if it is an amendment, we only have to get HUD's approval if it adversely affects HUD. And I think given the clarification language in this memorandum of understanding that we put together, it certainly doesn't prejudice HUD. It kind of gets us back on track.
Yeah, if we're both
What the
agreeing it
agreement
doesn't
says.
adversely affect either one of us, then it'd
Yes,
be hard to prove later that it did if we're saying right now it doesn't. But okay, as far as the separate, one thing I would want to understand was when it was anticipated it would come, because of time's sake, if we were going to vote and make this contingency that it is contingent upon HUD's letter,
Yes, ma'am.
then I wanted to put some kind of time frame on it that we receive something from HUD by, say, our next meeting. Because say it drags out and drags out and drags out, and then we've got no agreement, and we've got no HUD, and I don't want that to happen.
No, I understand that. And my understanding is HUD said in their responsive email that not only did they not have any understanding, they'd get us something in writing by Friday.
Okay.
But my suggestion is it's November 4th today. Let's at least say through the end of November, give us some time to get it, because HUD just does things differently sometimes. It takes a while.
My question would be, if we wait till the end of November and we end up having one meeting in December, and we may have to have a special call meeting either which way, but would that give us enough time to do the things that we need to do?
I would say so. Primarily, it's going to be on them to set up an account and get those transitions of those receipts into there. However, we do need to give them notice by the end of this year
I'm gonna take
that we
that.
intend to levy. So I would say we would need it for the books for the clerk by
Joanne, I don't mean to
December
interrupt you, but so that we can, I actually would prefer to say by the next meeting, because I'd like to put some time pressure on HUD.
I would love to put a lot of time pressure on them on a lot of projects. I'm going under the assumption they're going to do what they say they're going to do, which is they'll get us something in writing on Friday.
But we told them that the vote actually came out that we need that by that day.
Yes,
Hopefully
ma'am.
somebody would feel a little bit.
We will tell them that.
That'd be my preference. Thank you. And somebody else may have a different opinion about doing it one way or the other, so.
Nobody?
Sound good?
You got a motion for me?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the annual review contingent upon HUD's affirmation, which is alternative number 2 in our book, and that we request the written affirmation from HUD by the date of our next county commission meeting. What is that date?
November 18th.
November 18th.
Motion and a second to approve the MOU contingent upon receival of HUD's affirmation by November 18th. Ready? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve a final plat.
I'm sorry, Ms. Norma Jean, motion, she'd like to say something.
Oh.
She could.
I'm sorry. Did not mean to overlook it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Norma G. Morgan, I'm the CEO of the health system. Thank you so very much to all of you that had a part in this. Thank you to Joanna particularly, who worked through every dot and tittle of the contract. She knows it intimately. And Toss, who equally worked with this with Mike on our behalf. We thank you. This is something that we have long hoped to receive, and we thank you for your generosity. We thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, overlooking anybody? All right, Mr. Shaw, next item, consideration to approve a final plat consisting of 10 lots for Blue Jay Estates located off of Blue Jay Road.
Yes, sir, this is, well, it's actually a 7-lot subdivision at this point. 3 lots were subdivided over a year ago. But they are together in the sense that we've agreed to run a water line. We wanted to upsize the water line that's going to serve these lots, which makes this a somewhat unique final plat. Generally, we don't issue a final plat until all infrastructure is in. There is no infrastructure other than this water line. It'll be on septic, and there are no interior roads. These are all 5-acre lots on frontage, on a county road frontage. Since we have agreed to put the water line in, and we have a date certain for that, I would recommend approval of the final plat with some statement on the deed saying that they will have water service by April 2015. There are at least one that I know of, person that would like to start building immediately on one of these lots.
The only thing that I would want to ask staff is that if we're going to vote in a public meeting that work's going to be available by April 2015, that staff assures us that that is something that's going to happen.
Well, as I understand it, that's our agreement with the folks.
I'm asking staff
Yes.
if they want us to vote that way to ensure us that can be met.
Awesome.
The only thing I'd say is what George said, that's what our agreement is. We have the bid documents prepared to come to y'all. What we're going to propose to you on this one is instead of design bid build, to do a design build on it, because it will cut out 45, 60, 90 days of lead time. And we have those documents put together to be placed out. It should provide adequate time.
Okay, so you're saying that does you guys have a ways and means to do it as long as the board.
What we want to do is ask for design builds. We get one number for engineering, permitting, and construction at one time. Y'all approve one contract. That keeps us from having to come to the board, put out a design bid. Then once plans are prepared, go bid that, come back, 30-day bid process, come back to the board, ask again. And each time that 30 days of required bid turns into 45, just with the 12 days to 60. So it should cut out quite a bit of delivery time.
As long as all the aspects of that are covered legally, like there's nothing in there that's a snafu that.
It's just a design build method of delivery. Same thing we did on the judicial complex, same thing we did on the jail. We've done it. We typically reserve it for larger projects, but it does speed up the delivery time.
You understand why I'm asking the questions up front, right?
Now, again, contract-wise, there should be plenty of time, but I don't control the contractors either. I mean, it's certainly my opinion we will deliver it on time.
Actually, the wording says the deeds acknowledge that the water service will be unavailable until April 25th, 2015, which is not available in 2015, so it's actually safer wording. Although I don't know the contract, I don't have a contract in front of me, so.
We can put a clause in the agreement with the contractor. The contractor liable.
Well, if we do the wording that anybody knows in the deed, this will be unavailable until April 2015. It's giving them that much of a heads up, and that's a safety net.
I think what Ms. Jones is referring to is staff's concern is that although the lots can be transferred immediately and the water service won't be available until March of 15, we don't believe anybody could construct it, and it's not zoned for a mobile home, so it has to be stick-built construction. We don't believe anybody could deliver that quickly. However, we want to be extremely clear to the person buying it that water will not be available until March of 2015. So I think that she just want to make sure that wording is conveyed.
To carry it one step further, when we award bid and we select the contractor, we put a clause in the contract with that contractor that if they don't get it done by a deadline,
Some type of incentive
then they'll be liable
penalty.
already.
Correct. And it's 2,800 feet of line, so I mean, again, it should be doable. We get this thing post-haste out and the board approves a design-build type method of delivery here. We should have enough time to
If you
deliver.
put a penalty in the contract, you can always just install a temporary well, remove the well there. If the contract will, there's the penalties are in there for time delay, then $4,000 or $5,000 wells could be easily covered.
Well, as Eric stated, even other than a penalty, if you put in that they're responsible for the liability, that would, then that would cover as well. Okay. Those are my questions.
Light up. All right. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go on staff recommendation that the board approve the final plat for Blue Jay State subdivision with the caveat that all units acknowledge that water service will be unavailable until April 2015.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item is consideration to approve holiday hours for December 26, 2014.
Good evening. Hi. In the past, if the Christmas holiday fell on Thursday, the Board of Commissioners would review the granting of December 26th, which is a Friday, as an additional county holiday in only that calendar year. This happens between 6, 7, and 8 years, depending upon your leap year. And it was last approved in December of 2008. What happens is in this particular calendar year, Christmas Eve falls on Wednesday, December 24th, Christmas on Thursday, December 25th, and of course the day after Christmas is December 26th, and it meets the above stated criteria. We have 3 options. If we look at doing this, you can approve an additional paid county holiday on December 26th. You can approve an unpaid county holiday on December 26th, and it allows the option for employees to use accrued personal leave if they have it available. And of course, you can decline the request and have regular business hours on December 26th. And we've gone with recommendation for an option 1 because that was the last approved. But when you take a look at the cost of either granting a paid county holiday or granting an unpaid county holiday, if employees use the accrued personal leave, it's almost virtually the same thing. We have less than 2 to 3% of employees that do not have 8 hours of leave time on the books at this point. And there are 4 pay periods left in the year, so they could actually gain that time and from between now and then. Just so you know that the total cost of this is less than 0.5% of the total payroll budget. It can be made up through job attrition. And therefore, we do not see that that will need any amendment or addition to the approved budget dollars if you approve any of the above alternatives.
So calls for recommendation number 1 or recommendation number 2?
The recommendation number 1 will cost approximately, basically, like I said, about 0.5% of the total payroll budget,
How much is that?
about $46,000. But please remember that I do not have the staff in the sheriff's office that automatically gets off Friday anyway. They work different hours. It's about 1/3 of the staff in the sheriff's office that would automatically have that day off, so they wouldn't be counted. But I've done a maximum to that. And if we pay out accrued holiday, it's just going to be about 2 or 3% less for those who wouldn't have it and didn't gain it or chose not to use it, if that makes sense.
Is the 24th a holiday?
Yes.
Why can't it be shifted? I thought that's what was
I think I got a letter from Linda that, why not work on the 24th shift and be off on Friday?
That's completely up to you. Your holiday calendar's been posted. We can shift a holiday if you'd like to do that and have us work all day on the 24th, close at 5. I just know, it's just employees asking off for those who've already made travel plans to be out of
I
town.
think that would probably be the fair thing, is do that shift, and then if somebody has personal leave time, they can either take a Thursday.
Take
They
Thursday.
can use it for the 24th.
Okay. So you're adding an alternative to shift the holiday to December 26th and remain open on the 24th?
Alternative number 4.
Yes, alternative number 4 will be to shift the holiday to December 26th and remain open on December 24th. Would you like a full day on the 24th or closing at noon?
Full day on the 24th, is anybody that wants to use the option of their own leave, they can. You should be able to run short staff on the 24th,
Mhm.
especially.
And I would like to ask one question, not to get in the middle of Russ. You don't have the exact same issue on New Year's too, being that New Year's on a Thursday, we come back on a Friday. And I think my question would be not so much the time off, and I don't particularly care if it's paid time, I take it. My question is more, the debt chart around here runs so thin in a lot of areas that if one person takes off, an entire department is closed down. So what I would ask more is the board amenable to having certain departments closed down on Friday? Do you want to keep a full slate of services open both days? Now, if you're shifting the holiday, you just made that decision after Christmas, but what about after New Year's?
Why don't we shift both of them?
And
Well, I don't think we have one to shift on New Year's.
No, we don't have New Year's Eve, that's the
My
difference.
thing about that is as far as, unless it's an emergency department, and I think most emergency departments are not in a situation that they're
Correct.
in that situation, then that would not be a problem.
Well, and I mean, just George is here, I'll pick on him. He is the building's own department, so if he leaves, that department shut down. And there's others like that, you know, if somebody takes off. So, and that's just my question. Do y'all want a full slate of services on every day, or is it acceptable that all services aren't necessarily available on those days, even if people take personal time off? The same thing on New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve. Because the holiday falls there, what I heard y'all say is you want to be open all day, but if people, expected to take off, even if they take personal time, you may end up in a situation where we're not adequately staffing all departments.
I would be okay with those 2 holidays, with that being the scenario, if it's a non-emergency, because.
And I don't know that that'll happen, I'm just anticipating that that's a possibility.
New Year's Eve is not a holiday.
Correct, New Year's Day is a holiday.
New Year's Day is also.
And that's a Thursday.
This is 2 days. We're just trying to keep, the request was to try to make it a 4-day weekend. It was going to work out better with the schedule. That was my intention, my understanding was we were just going to shift it
For Christmas.
to Christmas.
And yeah, he's pointing out the fact New Year's is on Thursday, what we do about the Friday after New Year.
Come back and work. That's what I do.
That's what I would have done.
Except for the people who want to take personal leave and all that, and then he's asking the question, if people want to take personal leave and it shuts down the department, but it's a non-emergent, that's okay
That's
with
a
me.
new year. Don't you agree on the new year?
Well, and that's all my point, it's the day after New Year's, it's on a Friday, how many people are going to come in? I don't know the answer, we may inconvenience someone, we may not. It's just a question for y'all to consider, I'm not asking for time off, I'm just asking, for the staffing levels.
Well, I mean, if that person is that critical to that department, then what do you do when they're on vacation? So surely there's got to be somebody that covers for them if they were sick or any other personal leave, so.
And one person, I agree. What I'm saying is more than one wanted to take off because it being a holiday, a 4-day weekend, the day after New Year's, all that.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that's where Floyd's saying is that's a personal time off issue. And if somebody has the time and the department can do without them, then they can take off.
I think what Toss's trying to say is normally, say for example, because it's a holiday, there may be a lot of people that want to take advantage of it. So if that's the case, say Adam Kodak, as an example, would be the fill-in for George if he's out, but Adam may also be the fill-in for somebody else. Well, if those two people take off and Adam wants to take off, then that creates a little bit of a problem.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Normally, we would prioritize time off to make sure all departments are staffed. But what I'm saying is in that one instance, that one day, could you make an exception to say that there may
Are
be
you
services?
comfortable with us leaving that at your discretion?
Are y'all comfortable leaving that at my discretion? I don't want to be here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. And I prefer not to be here.
Alternate two handles
I
that.
cannot imagine.
Yes.
I cannot imagine you'll be that busy on that day. Unless something.
Go with alternative two, they can take it off the walk to, and then you personally, if they want to use it.
Well, we're talking about alternative 4, which is shifting it. And then allowing
The
people to
added.
set it.
Well, maybe if I may make a suggestion to get everybody back on track. New Year's, as I said, we don't have New Year's Eve as a holiday for the County. New Year's Day is, and I suppose they would have to put in a personal leave request for the day after New Year's if that's going to be. So we can kind of leave that over to the side. And we'll work at coverages. But looking back at December 24th, 25th, 26th, that's kind of what we're reviewing right now. Maybe that makes it easier.
So make it 25th or 26th holidays.
Yes, right now we have alternatives 1, 2, 3, and we added 4, which was shifting the holiday from December 24th to December 26th, being closed then Thursday, Friday, of course Saturday, Sunday, and working a full day on the 24th. That was the other option that was just put out.
I think that's good.
That's
I
fine.
think the majority is comfortable with that.
All right, so making a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve our new option number 4,
Yes.
which is we shift the 24th holiday to the 26th, so that the 2 holidays are the 25th and 26th.
Correct.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Cost to figure out a way to run the government.
Thank you.
The new year.
About that.
I've never really thought about a day's payroll before then. $45,000 a day?
Just about.
Yeah. That's an interesting statistic.
It fluctuates, but that's about your average.
But that was including the sheriff's office.
Oh, yes.
And they're off on Friday.
Parts of their staff, they're closed Friday,
Still,
but
that's
I don't have an
payroll.
exact number.
Still a day's payroll.
Yeah.
All right, next item. Consideration to approve resolutions to amend the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget for travel and fiscal year 2013-14 budgets for debt services.
As you know, each year we try to make sure that we get all of your budget amendments in. We had 3 additional ones for the current year's budget, or prior year's budget. Those consisted of simply a movement for sanitation of the solid waste curbside to increase that amount by $90,000. We had subsequent revenue that also came in, which covered that. 911 to increase the maintenance contracts. If you recall on that one, we actually did the additional towers, so that covers those amounts. And then each year we have to shift funding from these BOC buildings into our debt service to pay for the payments for the bonds for the certificates of participation. Those are the three for the 2014 fiscal year end. The one that you have for 2014-2015, as you recall, we told you that we were going to try and make whatever budget amendments that were not made in open session, along with the approval of the board on a quarterly basis. This is the first quarter of 2014-2015 adjustments for per diem and travel. That's where we move those funds from Department 15 into the individual departments to cover that travel and per diem.
Because the money's already in the account, so it's like a housekeeping issue.
That's correct. We are trying to make all the other budget amendments as we go, but in this particular case, it's just easier to accumulate those budget amendments and make them at one time.
Yeah, the other ones have all been discussed in public.
That's correct. Or at least we are trying to make sure that those are done as you approve items.
Any questions? Motion?
Make a motion that we approve alternative number 1 and approve the budget amendments for 2013-14 and the budget amendments for 2014-15.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve an agreement for the use of Effingham County prison inmates in the city of Bloomingdale.
City of Bloomingdale is interested in utilizing inmate labor from time to time. The county has agreements for use of inmate labor in the past, and we currently have one with Bryan County. This agreement is only on an as-needed basis, and the county will only provide the detail as time and resources permit. We make no guarantee that services are available on any date or time, but we will let the city know the availability when making the request. It provides a daily rate for supervision compensation of $204, which is a daily rate. It provides for a daily rate for transportation, which is $103 for the first 100 miles driven and 53 cents for each mile thereafter. This agreement can be terminated at any time for any reason within 10 days, and it has been reviewed by county administration, finance, and the county attorney. The city received a copy of this agreement and will place this item on their agenda on Thursday, pending our board approval. Staff recommends alternative 1.
Okay, the one thing that I'd like to, is as far as hearing that, we're not guaranteeing any times because I would want to definitely take the position that any work that's needed to be done in Effingham County has to take priority, but we don't want them to go anywhere from here. And certainly, I think we've had some questions about it. We're getting into some of the grass cutting. The only other thing I want to ask is about, and I know we've done this in the past with certain places, but I don't know if I thought about it. I want to be sure I'm clear about our liability. What is the contractual agreement if they go to Bloomingdale and something occurs? Then is there a contractual agreement that Bloomingdale accepts all liability and we're free of it?
Well, is it the same basic agreement we have in Pembroke and these other?
Things farms
Is that safeguarded in all of our contracts or not? Because that has to be a consideration if we're sending inmates to another county. And
You get sued regardless, whatever's in there.
yes, and when you get sued, if your contract says that they take all responsibility, then that helps a lot.
That's addressed in item number 6. And it says basically the county will be responsible for all activities other than the damage or injury resulting from the non-performance or negligent performance of work assigned to the detail by the city.
We are responsible for the inmates, so.
That's correct. Whether they're in our care or in our county.
You know what? You just pointed that out. I don't like that. The county shall be responsible for any and all damages to property and or person.
Whatever little bit of money you make, you
Shall
just
hold
lost,
harmless the city of Bloomingdale?
just with one lawsuit.
That's correct. I think what Eric was trying to say, and what I would contend would be that we're liable for our inmates, whether they're inside the county or outside of the county. We're basically saying that we're supervising our inmates unless the city tells us to work on property that's not ours.
I understand that, but when you go into an agreement with somebody, then you can help shift some of that liability and risk by them agreeing that they're taking that, they're recognizing the situation and they're taking that burden on them. I mean, I'm no attorney, for God's sake, but I certainly know that I wouldn't want the contract to say, hey, we take all responsibility and damages on us. Here you go.
According to this, they burned the courthouse down, we're responsible for it.
And number 10, directions as to work to be performed shall be communicated to the correctional supervisor having inmate custody and supervision of inmates who shall direct inmates accordingly. In other words, it's the guard's responsibility to do the work as instructed by the city.
The risk to us outweighs, the risk to us on this contract outweighs the benefit, that's for sure, unless we tweak it. Don't you agree?
I mean, this is the same contract we've got with other people, but that's a very good
This is the
point.
first time I thought of it.
I don't know how much you can change on those things because the inmates have to be supervised by correctional officers, our people. And so our officers are the ones who have to give them direction and maintain control of it.
I do understand that, but then you still want me to sign something that says it's at, that they understand it's at their risk.
I thought we were short on supervision, or are we not? I mean, I know we are, but
We do have limited resources, I would say that.
Why don't we table it and we take a look at it and see if we can.
And the original request was for the use of inmates on one day. This is, it was never, I mean, if y'all felt more comfortable, regardless of what you're referring to, doing an agreement for 1 week, I think it would mean, they didn't ask for an entire year. We just did it in case it came back up. They literally asked for 1 day. One project, 1 day. So, and I agree, we are short on guards. We don't need to be sending them out the county when we can't do the things we did. But again, their request was 1 day, 1 day.
It'd be my preference to take a relook at how to better protect us in our contract.
Well, let's table it and we'll take a look at it and bring it back to the next meeting. So that's
Sounds
okay.
sensible.
I don't want this time frame, maybe for some help.
Let's do it.
You need a motion? Well, that's over in your neck of the woods for you.
It is.
Just give me a motion.
I'll make a motion that we make the corrections in item 6 where it holds the city of Louisville. I don't know how to work.
Just
I
take
think
it.
it's best to table it, let them
Just
review.
table it.
Yeah, table it and let's review it and get it where we don't have documents.
So your motion is to table it
Yes,
until the next meeting,
yes,
after attorneys have
review it.
reviewed it.
Possibly looked at other cities' contracts and things
Yeah,
like that.
we need to actually review all of it.
I have that motion, do I have a
I
second?
second.
Motion and a second for table until the next meeting after attorneys have reviewed. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to accept the quote and execute proposal for MEP design services for Tusculum Fire Station.
Board's working and planning towards a new fire station to be built at Tusculum. Architectural drawings and structural drawings are completed, civil drawings will be completed in-house. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing plans have not been completed. Staff proposes to bid the entire job to a general contractor, and MEP plans would be required for those endeavors. MEP plans would also be needed to properly bid various trades if the county were to serve as our own general contractor. Staff publicly advertised and solicited quotes from qualified MEP firms, and 3 responses were received. Chatham Engineering has completed several jobs for the county, and they're currently working on the Sheriff's Office and Jail project. Their bid was the lowest at $2,500. Plans can be completed within 2 weeks, and staff intends to have the project bid shortly thereafter. The county attorney and staff has reviewed, and staff recommends alternative 1, accepting the quote and executing work authorization for Chatham Engineering.
How about this printing and mileage they don't charge us for? I mean, they're the one that bid on the job. I mean, you ought to take that out. reimbursable such as printing and mileage? I mean, when they bid it, they knew they had to come to Effingham County.
The printing really shouldn't be an issue because they can send them digitally to us and we can print them here.
Well, how about the mileage?
As far as mileage, there's only one meeting. They work for us now and don't charge us mileage, even though that's in their reimbursement contracts in the past. I believe the major caveat is if we choose to use all construction review, item D says all construction review to be hourly. We don't anticipate that being needed. I'm assuming that's where the reimbursable claim comes from. You'll see your nearest, next lowest bid is $1,700 more expensive.
But basically, we can do this, get our design, get our plans, and get moving. And then once we have these plans, there are plans that we could use again for similar stations and other locations that we will be able then to already have plans in-house and be ready to move.
Will they agree to that, where they can possibly just amend plans like that? Or will we need to?
The plans will be ours at the end of the project.
We just need to make that part of our award that those plans belong to us and can be used at any other location. With that, I think we would be getting a decent value and moving forward and getting it off the stump and moving.
Only been a little over a year.
But this will be a move, I think, to get us going.
If you don't project using it for construction monitoring, then this is the best price. But if you plan on calling them out every 2 or 3 days, you'll wind up spending more than the second bid. But it's a very simple building. This is metal building, so you won't need them for
Concrete
construction
floor.
monitoring. So this is probably the best bet.
Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative number 1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve alternative number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Sir?
I said, I'll agree to it.
Oh. All right, next item is consideration to appoint a representative to the District 2 seat on the Department of Family and Children Services Board.
Yes, sir. If you all recall, you approved on August 19th for Ms. Linda McDaniel to be appointed to the 3rd District seat. At that time, Ms. Lindsay Don was appointed to the 2nd District seat. It had been brought to our attention from the DFAC's office that there is a conflict with her being appointed to the board, so we need to appoint someone else. The only other applicant we received was from William Carter.
I believe the conflict was Lindsay was related to someone.
Right. She was from, she has a relative on the board.
All right.
This is not a district, not appointee.
Then I would entertain your motion.
I make a motion that we approve William Carter.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. And that, my friends, is the last item of new business. Let the record show. Way before 6. All right.
Somebody trying to file with
Staff, Mr. Allen, you got something?
You should have your sheriff's office updates included. There also should be a memo for you on the status of recently surplus items. The cars were sold, there's a listing in there of the values that were received for them, the net and gross that we got. The property along with Augusta was offered for sale. We received 0 bids on that. Atlas property will go out this week. We should, I just advertise that for about 2 weeks, so we'll update you.
So the people that asked us if we would surplus the property didn't even put in a bid on?
I don't know what, I mean, I know they knew about it because I notified them personally. Apparently something changed. Atlas will go out and the other was lawnmowers, which are still waiting surplus. And we will continue to update y'all as those other items go on. But we really want you to know the cars, the value that you got there, and we didn't receive any bids on Old Augusta. And as the other ones come through, we'll continue to update you. There's a thank you note included in your package from the sheriff. He appreciated the flowers that y'all sent, passing of his father. Eggs and Issues is December the 4th, Thursday, December the 4th. If y'all please let Ms. Johnson know if you plan to attend, so that she can make sure you're on the roll, whatever, so you get registered to go. And then Central Learning Center, the property that y'all acquired out off of Wallace, Head Start, who used to operate a portion of the programs out there, had placed a fence around one of the small playground areas.
That's who did it.
Yeah.
You remember we was wondering who fenced that?
It wasn't aliens, it was Head Start. And they have asked if they can have that fence back, and it's not our property to give them an answer one way or the other, it belongs to you people. So we are asking y'all if you have any issue with them removing that. It's a 4-foot cyclone fence, I don't know, probably 25 by 25 or so.
Anybody object?
Did you say it's not ours?
No ma'am, Head Start
It's
program,
not-
while they
yeah, it's
operate
not.
there, they erected the fence for a playground.
And they just went back?
They just want it back. Well, we also don't use the playground, we don't have anyone there, we don't have a need for it. They just want it back. So barring any objections, we will tell them to come get their fence.
Anybody object?
No.
Tell them to fill the holes back in so nobody can step in a hole and.
I'll be sure to pass that along. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
No, I mean, it's valid. I mean, think about it, leave a hole, somebody walks up there. So I said it's a public record now, if it happens, we got something. Adam, you got anything else?
I really don't. We have a movie company who's working in connection with or in partnership with Moon River Studios. They would like to shoot a very low budget movie, and they would like to use the Truton building for that. We can work on a location agreement. Is there any minimum threshold that you would like to require other than utilities? They really don't think that they're going to need to modify the building that much. They said they might paint a wall. It's a wall that would be in an office that is currently used, but it would be a neutral color. I don't foresee any issue there. There was created a small half partition wall in the hallway. The county staff created as the district attorney was working in there, as the historic courthouse was under construction. They would like to remove that. The county really has no objections to removing that either.
And we do have an agreement that they would sign that we
Yeah.
formulated.
It would come before you get your next board meeting. I just didn't know if there was any, they've let me know that it's a very low budget film.
Do you know about the film?
It's Left Behind, the religious books.
That building's being used for document storage now?
That's largely.
And
storage.
those will be secure though?
That's correct. They'll need it for one day, and it is, Elaine Spencer with Family Connection uses that as a part-time office, and they're going to use her office. It'll be the scene of the sheriff's office, so they're just going to put sheriff's office memorabilia on the desk. They'll shoot it in her office and be gone in half a day. They would need to take down that petition, so I just wanted to see if there's any objections to that, or if there's any minimum that we needed to work with this group.
I don't have any problem with you.
We have another movie that contacted us today, and I had to talk with them, and they're in December, so they would like to use the historic courthouse for one day in December. And that would also come before you use a location agreement. And that's all.
As long as we're uniform in what we're charging people.
Is that addressed the same in the contract? You know,
Compensation is addressed in each contract.
Okay. And it varies based on need, I guess, like if it's a different
And
building,
impact.
yeah, okay.
It is very difficult, and I'm glad you mentioned that since we just have a couple seconds. We can come up with a uniform rental, and I don't think that's a problem. They filmed Savannah River Story, which was a major motion picture, which had big name actors and a big, huge budget, and they gave us $3,500. We then filmed Uncut, which was a local production
a very low budget. They used our courthouse for one day, and I think they paid us $500 or something for the utilities. So it is kind of difficult because the county seeks to maximize what we can gain from our location. And at the same time, if we're going to be open to the smaller budget films, is it worth saying it's $25 a day? Does that make sense? So each one kind of is a case by case basis. It's how we've approached it so far.
I want to take one time and end up with a Forest Gump Beach.
That's right.
So when you say utilities, you're talking about $25?
No, I wouldn't think so.
What are you thinking?
Like $100, 150. I mean, we'd have to review the numbers for what that building would cost to operate for a day, but, pardon? I mean, it's a very small space. They're gonna use it for half a day. What's the power and water for a day?
It's almost free.
Yeah, I mean,
It has a lot to do with the impact too, what it is, what buildings are going to be used, and services are going to be shut down.
but for the Triplin building, sounds to me like anything that they do to it is going to be an improvement to it. $100 and then do that work and paint it.
It's a fair old building.
I think that's fair. Think
That's it.
Joanne, you got anything else?
No, sir, just, we have been conversing with the auditor this week. We believe we are on our time schedule, and believe we will have, some additional questions this week, but they're wrapping up their processes.
You'd make me happy if you told me we were ahead of schedule.
I can't tell you that because we finished our part, but it's in their hands right now as far as their processing.
Okay. A little bit of feet to the fire again. Late. Any commissioners?
I don't have anything.
Steve? Go ahead, Forrest, you bust. That's it? All right, I need a motion for that all-important meeting that we've got to have. Who's been practicing?
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, property, and pending litigation.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried. All right, regular meeting back in session. Before you, you have the consideration to approve the October 21st, 2014 executive session minutes. I'll entertain a motion, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Please let the record show that Commissioner Mason is left. Not present for that vote. All right. Any other business to come before this board? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposing? We do stand adjourned from our regular session.